Some movies are so good that they get increasingly more amazing every time you watch them, but this movie has the opposite effect. What began as a film that I thought was okay when I originally watched it back in 2020, after watching it at least 5 times, when I had to watch it again for this video, I kid you not, there were a couple moments where I felt like my soul was literally leaving my body. It felt like it was draining the life out of me. And you might think that sounds like something pretty overdramatic to say about a SpongeBob movie. And to be honest, this movie isn't 100% bad, just 99.999% bad. It does have some good qualities that I am going to be discussing. This isn't just going to be a video in which I talk about how this movie is the spawn of Satan. No. I'm saving that energy for another one I'll be talking about in this video, but I'm getting ahead of myself. This is 2020's, but also technically 2021's. It's complicated. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. It opens with narration by someone who is not the French narrator who we usually get in SpongeBob, even though that one is voiced by Tom Kenny, who also voices SpongeBob, aka, you know, the main character of the movie, so it's not like they couldn't get him for the film. But it's in this opening that we see what is the biggest positive this movie has going for it, and that is the animation. Unlike the animation in at least most of the previous 2 movies, which opted to have basically the same animation style of the show but in high definition, this one went with something completely different for the franchise. This entire movie, minus the live action characters, is animated in a type of way that blends 3D animation and 2D animation in a way that is honestly beautiful. It is absolute eye candy, and I love how unique and stylistic it is. And we also get a fun little montage of SpongeBob hanging out with Gary as an upbeat Weasel song plays that is an absolute vibe. But don't let the good music and animation and the vibes trick you into thinking this is a good movie. Good movies are not just vibes. Good movies have substance, and substance is something that this opening does not have. This entire opening feels like useless scenes of nothing yet happening that could have been at least cut in half and are only here to fill time. To explain what I'm talking about, in the opening 12 minutes of the original SpongeBob movie, we get so much. The fun sequence of the live action pirates singing the SpongeBob theme song, the iconic dream sequence that is not only very funny and goofy, but also establishes that SpongeBob literally dreams of becoming the manager of the Krusty Krab. We get SpongeBob annoying Squidward, SpongeBob and Patrick discussing their plans of celebrating at the Goofy Goober ice cream establishment after SpongeBob is made manager. We get Plankton dusting off Plan Z. We get the Krusty Krab 2 grand opening ceremony and Mr. Krabs choosing to make Squidward manager instead of SpongeBob, making SpongeBob very sad. Jeez, all of that in only 12 minutes. What do we get in the opening 12 minutes of this movie? Like I said, that one montage, there's an unfunny, kind of annoying gag involving SpongeBob and Patrick yelling back and forth at each other. Good morning, SpongeBob. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, SpongeBob. Good morning, Patrick. SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs opening the Krusty Krab for the day. Sandy introducing us to Otto, a droid that is basically not even a character, just a plot device the movie will eventually use as a way of getting SpongeBob from point A to point B without him having a license. We see Otto try to fire Mr. Krabs from the Krusty Krab, and then Mr. Krabs kicking him out of the building, and then Karen taking Otto into the chum bucket because she thinks he's cute. And oh yeah, she also tells Plankton that it's not Mr. Krabs who keeps stopping him from successfully taking the formula, it's SpongeBob. And then that's basically it. Wow, you established all of that in only 12 minutes? Are you sure you didn't need 30 or 50 minutes to do that? I swear, the pacing in this movie is as slow as Gary the Snail. And I just mentioned how the beginning of the movie is narrated by someone who is definitely not the usual French narrator, but then the guy that they have introduce us to the villain of the movie, King Poseidon, after 15 minutes by the way, is the French narrator, which means that this movie has not one, but two completely different narrators. Why? I guess the guy who voices the one at the beginning is also Tim Hill, the guy who directed the movie, which is kinda cool, but to me, it just doesn't make sense to have two completely different narrators in the same film, especially when one only shows up 15 minutes after the other one. How can a movie be so slow when it comes to pacing, but yet so fast when it comes to hitting us with inconsistencies? And that's another thing. The character of King Poseidon basically is just King Neptune in the original movie, but less entertaining. And instead of him being obsessed with the balding top of his head, it's his aging skin on his face. Wow, how original. King Poseidon says the skin on his face is as ageless as a baby's butt, which is just such an unfortunate choice of dialogue for a character in a movie made by the same company that employed John Kay and Dan Snyder. And I'm absolutely not trying to make a big deal out of it or say that there was anything insidious intended behind that one sentence in this movie, but I just always hated it. It's very unfortunate in my opinion. He ends up kidnapping Gary because snail slime makes his face look young. And when SpongeBob comes home to find out Gary is missing, we get the first of many Camp Coral flashbacks in this movie that are, yes, very cute and wholesome, but I'll feel implemented into the story of the movie in a very unnatural way that also completely pauses and messes up the pacing of it, just so that we can see SpongeBob and eventually SpongeBob's friends as kids many years before the story of this movie. It just comes so out of nowhere, doesn't help the plot in any way. Also in this scene, we get the setup that makes no sense of Atlantic City being some dangerous, deadly, lost city that SpongeBob reads about in a book and is now gonna have to travel to save Gary. But yet when he actually does get there later in the movie, we see that it is a very packed city with a ton of people in it. Bikini Bottom News is even doing a segment there, and it's basically shown to be the Las Vegas of the ocean, which, as far as I know, is not a lost city. And now we are already a half hour into this movie, and it feels like nothing is happening. SpongeBob and Patrick do set out to go on a road trip, kinda like the original SpongeBob movie. But before anything actually fun, interesting, entertaining, etc. can happen, we have what is, in my opinion, one of the most annoyingly unfunny jokes in the entire movie. It was so unfunny, it made me want to go back and watch the Emoji Movie of all things. How many of you guys even remember that movie? And what makes it especially so moan-inducing is that in the teaser trailer for Sponge on the Run, it was actually a pretty funny gag. Patrick says the adventure he and SpongeBob are about to go on is gonna be like a buddy movie. SpongeBob says, "I love your sense of irony, Patrick," and then we see Patrick ironing an outfit. A quick, funny chuckle. But in the movie, they drag the joke out, having Patrick get all meta, saying how halfway through their adventure, they're gonna argue over something dumb and then make up, and then that's exactly what happens. They begin arguing about what type of movie their adventure is gonna be like, and it is so unfunny and stupid, and throughout the joke, I begin asking, this is still going on? It's also such an out-of-character moment for SpongeBob and Patrick, just for the sake of being meta, as if meta instantly equals funny. No, you gotta actually try to make a meta joke funny. Anyways though, I could probably make an entire video essay about this one joke. They, shockingly, instantly apologize to each other for fighting and calling each other names, and then, finally, they are once again back on the mission. Satan, setting out on a road trip adventure we still have yet to see. As an awesome and iconic Willie Nelson song plays, and the movie tries to convince you that you are having a fun time. Are you having a fun time? Are you having a fun time yet? The movie introduces us to a magical tumbleweed known as Sage, played by Keanu Reeves, who is, yes, one of many live-action celebrities in this SpongeBob movie, which kinda, in my opinion, makes it feel like the movie version of the 10th anniversary special that was literally just a bunch of unnecessary celebrity cameos included just to get eyes on the special and not to tell an actual good story. But Keanu is okay in this movie, at least when it comes to his acting, and there are a couple funny lines between him and SpongeBob and Patrick. But when it comes to how his character fits into the narrative of this movie, well, he doesn't. He is introduced in what is seemingly explained to us as being a dream sequence in which SpongeBob and Patrick have to fight live-action zombie pirates and meet Snoop Dogg because why not, I guess? I say that, but aside from the animation and Weasel, Snoop is probably the best addition to this movie. But then, when SpongeBob and Patrick seemingly wake up, this character, Sage, who they met while dreaming, is now traveling with them. So, was it a dream? Was it not a dream? I swear, nothing in this movie makes sense. And not in the fun, trippy way of Sponge out of Waddle. I just don't think they thought about much of anything while making this movie, aside from how much money they could make with it. Snoop, please don't leave so soon. This movie needs you. There's literally nothing fun about it once your song is over. I do like how Mr. Krabs is shown to miss SpongeBob while he's not in Bikini Bottom, instead of just being the one-dimensional I like money character. And when SpongeBob and Patrick finally make it to Atlantic City, I do like the colors of the bright lights in the city. I'm complimenting bright lights. I am grasping at straws to have something positive to say about this movie. The sequence of SpongeBob and Patrick acting dumb and silly and gambling and stuff while the Vida Loca song plays is also pretty fun, I guess. Even if it's yet another instance of this movie just being carried by the music. SpongeBob and Patrick eventually get thrown in jail and then are about to get executed for trying to steal a snail from King Poseidon until SpongeBob's other friends show up and argue that SpongeBob is innocent and doesn't deserve to die because he's a nice guy and they all went to summer camp with him when they were kids. Yeah, these Camp Coral flashbacks that basically show up at the climax of this movie, they are, like I said earlier in this video, very cute and wholesome, but they also feel like they come completely out of nowhere, and they absolutely destroy what a little pacing this movie even had. And it honestly feels like the only actual reason they are even in the film is because Nickelodeon wanted to get people hyped about the, at the time, upcoming spinoff known as Camp Coral, also known as SpongeBob Muppet Babies. There was a message after all of the flashbacks and an action scene where SpongeBob tells King Poseidon he doesn't have to try to look young all the time and he can just be himself. And how it comes up at the very last minute makes it kinda just feel like a cop-out and very anticlimactic, but it's not hypothetically a bad message to try to teach in a SpongeBob movie. I mean, you could kinda say the original movie kinda did that too, and the montage at the end with all of the snails living happily in Bikini Bottom is very cute, especially since I love animals, and I think the pro-wildlife message is amazing, even if it is kinda tacked on. And I do actually love the song at the end about SpongeBob being the secret to the formula, sung by the other characters, along with the music that plays during the credits, especially the Kelpie G. And everyone knows Take On Me is a bop. Again though, I am not Anthony Fantano, and so this is not a video about the music and soundtrack album. This movie feels very cynical. Like the thinking behind it was just, instead of trying to make something actually impactful and creative, like the previous two SpongeBob films, let's just throw a bunch of meaningless crap crap at the wall, not think about any of it. Includes a bunch of celebrity guest cameos, a bunch of licensed music, and scenes that break up the pacing just to promote a brand new spin-off show that no one will even like. I wanted to come away from this movie with a balanced take, like, come on guys, it's not that bad. Cause new SpongeBob stuff often gets a lot of hate nowadays, which has basically become a bit of a grift. And I don't want to be like that. But after watching it again, no. If anything, I think a lot of you guys might have under-exaggerated how bad it is. Because this is not only a bad SpongeBob movie, this is the worst SpongeBob movie ever made. At least, that is when it comes to movies that have SpongeBob in the title. But when it comes to the worst one in the SpongeBob franchise, the spin-off Sandy Cheeks movie actually somehow beats it with how bad it is. And unfortunately, that's the next movie I'm gonna have to talk about. Just a super quick outro for this video because I kinda have a headache actually. That's gonna be it for this video guys. Stay tuned for the next one in which I am gonna be against my will talking about the Sandy Cheeks movie. I was gonna talk about it in this video too. I was gonna have this be a video about both of the two most infamous SpongeBob movies. But I got so passionate when making this video that I basically had to dedicate it entirely to Sponge on the Run. But that kinda made for an even better analysis, I think. I don't know. Like I said, I have a bit of a headache right now. But if you enjoyed it, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Cartoon Post out.